This is the Buffett Mindset channel where we practice patience and calm wealth building daily. If you enjoy these types of videos, consider liking and subscribing. This will mean a lot to the channel. Sit close to this fire, friend, and listen well, for what I'm about to lay down ain't just talk, it's law. You see, most men live their lives chasing coins like a mule chasing carrots, never realizing that the real gold mine ain't in their hands, but in their head. You've been told to work harder, to save pennies, to fear debt, to hold on tight to scraps while the powerful build empires with thoughts alone. You've been taught the ways of labor, but not the ways of riches. And let me tell you, straight riches begin first in the mind, and only then do they flow into the hands. Now, I ain't speaking of gambling, nor of dreaming wild without discipline. I'm speaking of a mind that's been trained to see wealth where others see dust. A mind that treats opportunity not as chance, but as something summoned, drawn, pulled toward it like iron to a magnet. The men you admire, the names etched into history, Carnegie, Rockefeller, Ford, Edison, they didn't rise because of luck or birthright. They rose because they decided riches belonged to them, and they ordered their thoughts, their words, their very lives around that one truth. Hear the question you've been dodging, the one that makes most men squirm when the firelight hits their face. Have you truly decided to be rich, or are you still clinging to the lie that wealth is for others? Do you wait for luck, for inheritance, for a ship you never built to magically drift into your harbor? Or do you walk each day speaking words of lack, living in fear of bills, serving every coin as though it were master instead of servant? Let me tell you something plain. Desire without decision is poverty's seed. Most men don't fail because the opportunity ain't there. They fail because their will is soft, their thoughts are fogged, their direction is scattered like tumbleweed in the wind. They talk of dreams but act in doubt. They pray for harvest but never plant seed. And so life ever faithful hands them not wealth but want, not abundance but scarcity. But hear me now. You were not carved for that kind of small living. You were born with riches in your spirit, possibility in your bones. You were not meant to bow to coins. You were meant to command them. And if you'll stay with me through this night, if you'll ride this trail all the way to sunrise, I'll show you how to train your mind so thoroughly in riches that wealth must obey you. Not by accident, not by fancy, by law. For there is a method to this thing, a structure, a set of principles sharper than steel and older than time. And once you align your thoughts with it, money will flow to you in amounts you couldn't spend in a lifetime. Yes, you heard me. So much money you could stack it like cordwood, pass it down to sons and daughters, and still leave more behind than you ever touched. But I'll warn you, this ain't for the lazy ear. These words ain't meant to be heard once and forgotten. They're a seed, and like any seed, they grow only if planted in good soil, watered daily with thought, with faith, with action. If you take this lightly, you'll gain lightly. But if you take it serious, if you weave it into your very bones, then you will see what I'm talking about. Now let me call forth the giants whose names shine like stars over this trail. Andrew Carnegie, a boy from Scotland with nothing but hunger in his belly and steel in his eyes. He told me once, the man who dies rich dies disgraced. Why? Because he knew riches were a trust, a force to be commanded, directed, multiplied, not hoarded. He built an empire not with muscle but with thought, vision, and discipline. Henry Ford, a farm boy who turned wheels into fortune, not because he was the smartest, but because he saw simplicity where others saw complication. He trained his mind to see not what was, but what could be, and so the world bent around him. Thomas Edison, who failed 10,000 times but never called it failure. He trained his mind to treat every setback as a stepping stone. 10,000 dead ends became one blazing light, a fire that lit the whole world. And there was Schwab, Rockefeller, Morgan, Gillette. Their names echo because they all shared one thing in common. They didn't let the world dictate their portion. They demanded wealth with such clarity, such faith, such iron in their belief, that the universe itself yielded. Do you hear the thread in all their stories? None of them began rich. None had fortune handed to them. Many had less than you do now. But they trained their minds to attract wealth like a magnet pulls metal. They thought in gold. They believed in abundance. They spoke in definiteness. And they acted with courage before doubt could take root. That is the law, partner. You don't beg for riches. You command them by training your mind until it cannot help but create wealth. The poor man mind says, I hope. The rich man mind says, I will. And life, ever faithful, answers each according to his belief. So tonight, as the fire crackles and the night wind carries these words into your soul, I ask you again, have you decided, not wished, not hoped, decided that wealth belongs to you? If you have, then you're ready. Ready to begin the work of training your thoughts, shaping your words, sharpening your faith until money itself must obey. And if you're ready, then stay close. Because I'm about to show you step by step how to build a mind so rich, so disciplined, so aligned with law, that poverty will have no place left to live. Lean in close now, because this next part ain't just philosophy, it's practice. It's the iron frame that carries the weight of riches. You see, the world don't bend for men who wish. It bends for men who decide and then back that decision with daily discipline until their very breath commands respect. Warren Buffett once said, "The chains of habit are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken." Think on that. Every thought you repeat is a habit. Every belief you rehearse becomes a law in your mind. Most men live shackled because they've rehearsed doubt, they've practiced poverty, they've repeated fear until it feels natural, and then they wonder why their lives don't grow beyond scraps. But wealth, true, endless, ever-flowing wealth, ain't for the man who treats his mind like an unguarded field. It belongs to the man who sows with intention, who weeds out fear like a farmer pulling poison from his crop. That's the first principle. Guard your mind. Do not let idle talk, idle news, idle fears plant seeds in your soil. Your thoughts are gold dust. Protect them. Now Baldwin IV, the king they once called the leper, understood this truth in his own way. His body was weak, but his mind was iron. Surrounded by enemies, plagued by pain, he ruled with wisdom so sharp that whole armies hesitated to move without his word. He did not dwell on what was missing, he built power from what remained. That's the second principle. Focus on what you command, not on what you lack. The man who trains his eye on lack multiplies lack. The man who trains his eye on command multiplies power. And here's something that'll strike you hard if you let it. Riches ain't built by hours of labor, but by clarity of vision. I've known men who worked till their backs split, only to die poor because their thoughts never rose above survival. I've also known men who, with a single idea, moved fortunes across the earth. Carnegie said it straight. The man who acquires the ability to take full possession of his own mind may take possession of anything else to which he is justly entitled. Now let me tell you a story around this fire. There was a rancher I once knew, a man who broke his back every season. He'd rise before the sun, work his cattle, mend his fences, sweat till the stars came out. Yet year after year his land barely paid him. He lived in fear of losing it all. Down the road was another man, not stronger, not luckier, but wiser. This one studied markets, watched weather patterns, trained his mind to spot the unseen. While the first man pushed harder, the second man thought sharper. Within 10 years, the thinker owned 5 ranches. The worker still fought for one. Same land, same sun, same chance, different mind. That wealth, true secret. It follows thought more than toil. Now don't mistake me, effort has its place, but effort without vision is like plowing a field without seed. You'll sweat yourself dry and still reap dust. Effort multiplied by wisdom, however, that's where fortunes rise. So how do you train your mind? 3 steps, and you carve them deep like brands into cattle hide. Step 1, definiteness of purpose. You must decide, not tomorrow, not when things are easier, but tonight, what you demand of life. A vague mind attracts vague results. A definite mind bends the world. Write it down, speak it aloud, fix it in your thoughts until it burns hotter than any doubt. If you want riches, declare it. If you want freedom, declare it. Then align every action behind that decision like soldiers behind a general. Step 2, faith in abundance. Not hope, not weak wishing, faith. Faith is seeing wealth before it arrives, thanking God for it before it touched your hand. Faith don't argue with circumstance. It declares the end before the beginning. And let me tell you, life has a way of bending toward the man who believes with fire. Step 3, daily discipline of thought. Every morning you must train your mind like a horse. If you let it run wild, it'll throw you into ditches of fear. But if you bridle it, if you steer it with affirmations, with vision, with gratitude, it'll carry you straight into fortune. Buffett himself wakes each day reading, thinking, training, not his muscles, but his mind. That's why dollars bow to him. Now I ain't feeding you fluff. This is law as old as Solomon, who once wrote, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." You want gold? Train your heart to think gold. You want dominion? Train your spirit to walk like one who already owns it. You cannot attract what you secretly despise, nor can you keep what you secretly doubt. Let me lay this plain. If you think small, you will live small. If you think fear, you will live fear. But if you think in riches, in command, in faith, then no man, no storm, no circumstance can hold back what is yours. The world don't pay you by your sweat, it pays you by your belief. So let the weak man keep complaining, keep waiting, keep bowing to fear, but not you. Tonight, by this fire, you decide. You train your mind, you think in gold, and if you do, the world will not argue, it will deliver. Now listen sharp, because this is where most men fall. They claw for wealth, they bleed for it, and when it finally shows up, they don't know how to command it. Riches, ungoverned, turn from master prize to jailer chains. You've seen it. Lottery winners broke in 5 years, rich men dead inside, empires crumbling because the king mistook treasure for wisdom. That's the crossroads. You can either possess wealth or let wealth possess you. Warren Buffett's secret ain't just making money, it's keeping it simple once he has it. He said the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. Chew on that. It means wealth multiplies not by what you add, but by what you refuse. By discipline, by clarity, by holding the line when every temptation begs you to spend, to expand, to lose focus. King Baldwin IV knew this too. Sickly, dying, yet steady, he governed Jerusalem not by appetite, but by restraint. He didn't ride after every skirmish. He didn't chase glory. He preserved his kingdom by knowing when not to move. Wealth of power is preserved the same way. Hear the law. Riches respond to restraint. If you cannot master your hungers, you cannot master your fortune. Now let me spin you a tale about a miner I once met in the Rockies. This man struck silver richer than any vein folks had seen in years. Overnight, he was the talk of every saloon. He bought whiskey, bought women, bought horses faster than he could name them. His mind still poured silver, but his hands poured it faster. Within 3 years, he was dead broke, his claim sold for scraps. But not 2 valleys over was another miner. He struck half the vein, maybe less, but he handled it like a king. He saved, reinvested, bought land, hired steady men, and within 20 years, his children ran an empire. Same mountains, same chance. But one man was ruled by silver, the other ruled silver itself. That the principle, multiply, don't devour. Buffett calls it compounding, Solomon called it sowing and reaping, Baldwin called it survival. The name don't matter, the law is the same. $1 you waste dies, $1 you plant multiplies. You can spend for the moment, or you can own for generations. Choose, because your choice will echo down bloodlines. Now hear the second principle of command. Direct your wealth to a greater purpose. Riches left idle corrode the soul. Men who pile money without mission grow bitter, paranoid, hollow. But men who aim fortune like an arrow toward service, toward building, toward healing, toward lifting, become kings of more than gold. Remember what Buffett pledged most of his wealth would go to causes beyond himself. Why? Because wealth without vision rots. Wealth with vision multiplies beyond coin into legacy. Solomon built a temple. Baldwin defended a city. Buffett funds cures. The true secret ain't money, it meaning. Without meaning, riches are sand. Third principle. Protect your fortune through simplicity. The world will tempt you with noise, complex schemes, shiny tricks, fast games. Resist. Buffett stays rich because he invests in what he understands. He don't chase every new storm. He waits steady as a rock until opportunity kneels at his door. Most men lose because they chase, not because they lack. I tell you this plain. The man who can say no will outlast the man who always says yes. And here's something harder. Wealth will test your heart. When men bow to you, when comforts line your table, when the world calls you master, you must stay poorer in spirit than the poorest shepherd. Pride has swallowed more fortunes than famine. Baldwin, diseased and dying, still ruled with humility, listening to counsel, knowing the crown was heavier than his strength alone. That humility preserved him longer than medicine. You want your wealth to endure? Stay teachable. Stay small inside. Stay hungry for wisdom, not applause. Now let's ride this trail deeper into practice. How do you command wealth once it starts flowing? Keep more than you spend. Not in miserliness, but in mastery. If you earn 10, keep 3, invest 6, spend 1. Break that law and you will bleed slow to your dry. Plant in places you understand. Don't throw seed on ground you've never walked. If you don't understand it, don't invest in it. Guard your coin like a warrior guards his blade. Don't hand it to strangers. Use your wealth to buy time. The richest treasure ain't gold, it's freedom. Use riches to free your hours, to think, to create, to govern your destiny. If your wealth enslaves you to more work, you've built a prison, not a kingdom. Shield your wealth with silence. Not every man needs to know your fortune. Talk too much and you'll invite envy, thieves, false friends. Baldwin knew this. He concealed his illness for years so his enemies wouldn't strike. Guard your strength. wealth grows stronger in silence. Now, let me ask you, by this fire, what will you do when fortune comes? Will you squander it on show, or will you command it like a king? Will you be ruled by coin, or will coin be ruled by you? Because here lies the harshest truth. Wealth reveals the man. If you are small, your gold will shrink you smaller. If you are wise, your gold will stretch you wiser. Don't beg for riches until your character can shoulder the weight. Better to be broke and ready than rich and ruined. And so train your mind not only to attract wealth, but to command it. For it is one thing to open the door of fortune and another to keep it standing. There comes a day when every man must reckon with the truth. You cannot carry your gold into the grave. Your barns, your ledgers, your titles, they don't cross the river. What endures is what you build beyond yourself. Wealth in the hands of a small man dies with him. Wealth in the hands of a king becomes a river that runs for generations. Look at King Solomon, richest man of his age. Traders brought him gold until silver was counted as nothing in Jerusalem. His ships sailed oceans, his name reached kingdoms far and wide. But what remembered more than his riches is his wisdom, the temple he built, the judgments he rendered, the proverbs he left carved in stone and spirit. His treasure was great, but his legacy was greater. Now take Warren Buffett. He sits atop billions upon billions, yet he lives in the same modest house he bought decades ago. Why? Because his game ain't trophies, it's longevity. He knows money multiplies fastest when kept steady, not scattered. And his pledge to give away most of his fortune? That legacy. He ain't thinking of yachts or castles, he's thinking of the world his grandchildren will inherit. His wealth is already bending time, and Baldwin IV, crippled by leprosy, knowing his life would be cut short, still thought of the kingdom beyond his reign. He named heirs, forged alliances, made sure Jerusalem walls would stand after his bones were dust. That the mark of a true king, he lives for the ones who come after. So let me put it to you. Are you building riches for your belly, or are you building a dynasty? Here, the law of dynasty. Wealth without succession is wasted. You can toil a lifetime, stack gold high as mountains. But if you don't prepare the minds that come after you, your fortune will vanish like smoke. Families win or lose not by the first man fortune, but by the second generation wisdom. I've seen it in cattle ranches and steel empires alike. The old man works like a mule, builds the business, stacks the land. Then his children, soft with inheritance, spend it away, cause they never learned the fire that forged it. By the third generation, the name is forgotten, the fortune dissolved, the empire nothing but a memory. Why? Because the wealth was past, but the wisdom was not. So if you aim to build wealth unlimited, you must also build heirs unlimited in mind. Don't just leave coin, leave principles, leave discipline, leave clarity. Teach them that riches ain't a prize, it's a responsibility. Buffett teaches investors the rule of compounding, but more than that, he teaches patience. Solomon taught his sons the weight of justice, though not all of them listened. Baldwin taught his kingdom courage in the face of death. What will you teach yours? Now let me tell you something most men never hear. True wealth ain't measured by your bank, but by your bloodline. If your children are wise, if your house stands united, if your people walk strong because of your choices, then you've built a fortune greater than coin. But if you leave them rich in gold and poor in soul, then you've cursed them to chains of their own making. Let me share the story of an oil man I knew. Rose from nothing, started with a rig, built wells across Texas. By 50, he was rich beyond measure. But he never taught his sons the value of work. Gave them cars, gave them trust funds, gave them anything they whimpered for. Within a decade of his death, the fortune was gone. Lawsuits, parties, broken marriages. It bled away. Compare that to a small farmer I once knew. Never had more than 300 acres. But he taught his children honor, thrift, discipline. That farm still stands, grown larger by each generation. His grandchildren today own more land than kings. The farmer died with little, but his legacy grew into much. That's the power of principle. Gold alone can't hold a dynasty. Wisdom can. Now hear how you forge a legacy that no storm can sweep. Write down your philosophy. Don't just live it, record it. Words outlive breath. Buffett letters to his shareholders have taught more men how to think than his fortune itself. Solomon's proverbs still echo 3,000 years later. Put your creed in stone, in ink, in law, so those who follow can hear your voice when you're gone. Build systems, not just wealth. A man with money can lose it. A man with systems keeps creating it. Ford factories outlived him. Carnegie steel mills kept rolling long after he was dust. Systems multiply legacy. Raise heirs, not dependents. Don't make your children soft with silver. Make them sharp with trials. Let them earn, let them sweat, let them taste hunger. For a fortune handed to weak hands is a loaded gun to a child. Tie your wealth to service. Build schools, hospitals, foundations. Endow causes that outlast you. Wealth that flows only inward dies. Wealth that flows outward becomes a river that carves history. And here the last piece, maybe the hardest: prepare to let go. Every king must lay down the crown. Baldwin knew it. Solomon knew it. Buffett knows it. Your power is not in holding forever, but in releasing wisely. Train your heirs, choose your successors, set your affairs in order. The man who clings to wealth till the grave leaves chaos behind. The man who releases it with foresight leaves harmony. So when I tell you to train your mind to attract unlimited wealth, I ain't talking about coins spilling from your pockets till you drown in them. I'm talking about the wealth that bends time, the wealth that builds dynasties, the wealth that grows sharper, stronger, and steadier with every generation. And I ask you now, when your fire burns out, will the world remember you as a man who consumed or a man who built? Will they curse your fortune or bless your name? Will your wealth end with your breath, or will it echo in the halls of history? For that, my friend, is the true measure of riches, not the gold in your hand, but the legacy in your wake. Every river starts with a spring, every oak begins with a seed, and every fortune, no matter how wide or how tall, begins in the invisible chamber of the mind. You can study the markets, you can memorize balance sheets, you can grind 16 hours a day, but if your thoughts are poor, your harvest will be poor. The secret that most men miss, the secret that Buffett, Carnegie, Ford, and Solomon all understood, is this: wealth begins as spirit before it ever becomes substance. Think about it. Solomon asked for wisdom, not wealth, yet wealth came. Ford believed the impossible, that a horseless carriage could change the world. That belief became an industry. Carnegie imagined a nation built of steel, and his faith in that vision pulled iron from the ground and bent it into rails and bridges. Every titan begins in faith. Not religious faith, though many had that, but faith in thought, faith that the unseen could become seen, that the invisible idea could harden into iron, oil, engines, cities. Warren Buffett sits in Omaha, far from Wall Street, yet his every word moves markets. Why? Because he has trained his mind to see value where others see noise. That sight, clear, disciplined, almost spiritual, is what creates the fortune, not the dollars themselves. Money is the shadow, the mind is the fire. So let me tell you plain, the richest soil on earth is between your ears. But most men plant weeds in it. They fill it with doubt, fear, gossip, distractions. Then they wonder why their lives grow tangled, why their harvest is meager. They let fear dictate their choices. They let envy poison their plans. They let hesitation choke their seeds before they sprout. And yet, when they see another man succeed, they call it luck. They don't see that his field was tended long before the harvest. Here, a law you must tattoo onto your spirit. Life does not pay you for labor alone. It pays you for clarity. If your vision is weak, your fortune will be weak. If your faith is divided, your harvest will be divided. But if your vision is sharp, if your faith is focused, if your mind is trained like a stallion under rein, then there is no force on earth that can keep wealth from you. Now let's break this down into the final disciplines of unlimited wealth, the spiritual commandments, if you will. 1. Discipline of vision. You must see riches in your mind long before you touch them in your hand, not as wishful dreams, but as certain outcomes. Ford saw the Model T rolling off assembly lines before he ever built the first. Edison saw the light bulb glow long before the filament was perfected. Buffett sees value in companies years before the world wakes up. That is vision. Without it, you walk blind. With it, the world bends to meet you. 2. Discipline of belief. Faith is not hoping. Faith is knowing. When you decide to be rich, you cut off every other outcome. Most men fail because they keep one foot in poverty, one foot in riches. They hedge their spirit. They whisper, "I'll try." No, a man who tries has already decided to fail. A man who decides cannot be denied. Carnegie did not try steel, he demanded it. Rockefeller did not try oil, he owned it. Believe so deeply that the world itself feels the weight of your decision. 3. Discipline of speech. Your words are the orders you give life. Speak lack, and lack will obey. Speak riches, and riches will march to you. Solomon taught death and life are in the power of the tongue. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Words backed by faith are the seeds of fortune." Watch your mouth, for every complaint you utter is a curse upon your own harvest. 4. Discipline of action. Faith without action is fantasy. Vision without labor is vanity. You must act while others sleep. You must strike when others hesitate. Baldwin IV, sick and dying, still rode to war because he knew a kingdom cannot be defended by words alone. Buffett acted on Coca-Cola when others doubted. Ford acted on the assembly line when others mocked. Action is the bridge between thought and goal. 5. Discipline of persistence. Here lies the difference between kings and beggars. Fear will shout, failure will sting, doors will slam, but persistence is the hand that keeps knocking until the gate opens. Edison failed 10,000 times before the light shone. Buffett was mocked for boring investments, yet decades later, those boring choices built billions. Persistence is proof of faith. If you cannot persist, you do not truly believe. 6. Discipline of service. The universe rewards only those who give more than they take. If your mind seeks riches for selfish gain, your wealth will rot. But if your riches are tied to service, to solving problems, to lifting men, to building bridges, the floodgates open. Carnegie gave libraries. Buffett gives to foundations. Solomon gave wisdom. Baldwin gave courage. And each found their name written in history. And here Elu, the crown of all, discipline of gratitude. A man who cannot give thanks for little will never be trusted with much. Gratitude sharpens the mind, steadies the heart, and attracts greater abundance. For the man who sees wealth in every sunrise, in every chance, in every trial, already lives richer than a king. So now I tell you this, train your mind to attract unlimited wealth not by chasing coins, but by mastering these disciplines. Wealth will follow as night follows day. Poverty will flee as shadows flee the dawn. But let me leave you with the final truth, the one Baldwin, Solomon, Buffett, and every titan whispers: you cannot serve two masters. Either you serve fear or you serve faith. Either you serve poverty or you serve abundance. Either you live small or you live vast. Decide this day whom you will serve. If you choose fear, then close this book, shut this fire, and return to your chains. But if you choose faith, if you choose abundance, then take these words, carve them in your heart, and rise. For the wealth you seek is already waiting. Life is not deciding if you are worthy, you are deciding if you will claim it. The gold is yours, the kingdom is yours, the unlimited wealth is already yours. Now go. Think richly, speak richly, act richly, and train your mind until the world itself cannot help but lay riches at your feet. For that, my friend, is the law. Now, reckon you've sat long enough by this fire to know what I'm telling ain't smoke and mirrors. It ain't some fool promise about easy gold or luck blowing in on the wind. No, what I've shared with you tonight is older than Wall Street, older than banks, older than kings. Yet the same truth Solomon whispered in Jerusalem, the same law Baldwin IV rode with into battle, the same law Buffett sits quiet with in Omaha while the whole world comes knocking on his door. Yet this, the richest land you'll ever own, is the 6 inches between your ears. Guard it, plant in it, water it with faith, and it'll give you a harvest no drought nor thief can steal. Neglect it, fill it with weeds of fear and doubt, and you'll spend your days begging at another man's table. You see, wealth ain't in the coins, the cattle, or the castles. Those are just shadows, reflections of the real treasure, the mind that called them forth. You want to command gold? Train your thoughts. You want to own land? Master your spirit. You want a fortune so wide your children never see hunger? Then don't just chase dollars, build the kind of belief that bends the world to your will. Listen close now, because hear the part most men never hear. The world don't care if you quit. The markets won't shed a tear if you fail. The land won't rise up if you choose to live small. But if you decide, truly decide, to think rich, speak rich, act rich, then every law of nature, every hand of providence, every corner of creation will lean in your favor. But you gotta decide. Ain't no man ever stumbled into greatness by accident. Every king I've named, every titan who carved his name into history, they all made the same choice. They said, I will think richly, I will live boldly, I will walk by faith, not fear. And once they said it, they never turned back. So, I leave you with this picture, friend. The night growing quiet, the fire burning low, and maybe the rain settling in around you. Out yonder, past the horizon, is a world waiting to hand you the fortune you were born for, but it ain't gonna chase you. You gotta rise up, Saddle your will and ride toward it like a man who knows it already his. Fear will holler, doubt will whisper, but if you've listened true tonight, you'll know they ain't masters, they're just shadows. And shadows don't stop a man who rides with the dawn in his eyes and wealth in his spirit. So, tip your hat to the old ways of thinking. Let them die here at the fire. Then stand up in your own mind, strong and steady, and claim what was always yours. Unlimited wealth, not in some far-off dream, not in another man's pocket, but here now inside you. And when the sun rises tomorrow, ride out and live like it.